They say, gray hair, but still chasing passion. And in this case, that saying fits almost perfectly. This is the story of an unequal marriage and the unusual life of the English artist George Frederic Watts, along with his deeply symbolic and thought-provoking paintings. George Frederic Watts, who lived from 1817 to 1904, was a symbolist painter, often called the English Michelangelo. People gave him that nickname because of his deep respect for the traditions of the Italian Old Masters. But for Watts, ideas and meaning always mattered more than simply copying reality. That's probably why his paintings feel so unusual. They don't really look like typical academic art, or even the works of the pre-Raphaelites. Watts was born into a modest family. His father made musical instruments. He lost his mother early, and he wasn't particularly strong or physically confident as a child, which made life in rough London neighborhoods pretty difficult for him. He attended a Sunday school, but instead of bringing him closer to religion, the rigid system actually pushed him away from it. At the same time, though, that school introduced him to classical literature, especially Homer's Iliad, and that had a lasting impact on him, shaping his worldview and his lifelong love for classical art. At the age of 10, he became an apprentice to the sculptor William Bennis. His father recognized his talent early on and supported his artistic path. This gave Watts access to places like the British Museum, where he spent time studying ancient Greek sculptures, something that deeply influenced his artistic development. At 18, he entered the Royal Academy of Arts, but honestly, he didn't stay long. Academic training didn't really suit him, and the distractions of youth, along with early success, made it easy for him to walk away. Thanks to his friend and patron, Alexander Ionides, he was already receiving well-paid portrait commissions. His first major financial success came when he won a prize of £300 for his painting The Triumph of Caractacus in Rome. Instead of saving the money, he used it to travel across Europe. He visited France and then Italy, and this is where things really changed for him. For the first time, he saw Italian Renaissance art in person, including the famous Florentine frescoes he had only heard about before. He became deeply influenced by the old masters, and even Italians themselves began respectfully calling him Signor. He didn't just admire their work, he studied it deeply and absorbed its essence. But when Watts returned to England, he saw his own country differently. He became much more aware of social inequality and the struggles of the working class, things he hadn't fully noticed before. This led him to create emotionally charged paintings that focused on suffering and injustice, somewhat similar in spirit to the works of Russian realist painters. The liberal press supported him, but even more important were his connections with art dealers, patrons, and the artistic community. These connections gave him financial stability, which meant he could spend less time on commissioned portraits and more time on personal, meaningful work, especially his expressive and emotional female figures. Some of these works were inspired by his contemporary Dante Gabriel Rossetti, but Watts reinterpreted them through the lens of Italian tradition and his own philosophical approach. Of course, for that kind of work, he needed models. And that's how he met the young and charming Ellen Terry. He fell deeply in love with her, so much so that he proposed marriage. But there was one major detail. Watts was about 30 years older than her. The marriage didn't last long. Ellen lived with him for a short time, posed for his paintings, and then left him for a younger man. She quickly divorced Watts and returned to her parents. She was only 17 at the time of the marriage. In a way, it feels like a classic story. He wasn't really in love with her as a person, but with the idealized image he saw, the image he painted, As for Ellen Terry, she went on to have a successful acting career, performing in Shakespeare plays and even appearing in early films. In 1886, at the age of 69, Watts remarried to Mary Fraser Tytler, a Scottish designer and potter, then aged 36. In 1891, he bought land near Compton, south of Guildford in Surrey. The couple named the house Limnerslease, combining the words limner, or artist, with leeson, or glean, and built the Watts Gallery nearby, a museum dedicated to his work, the first, and now the only, purpose-built gallery in Britain devoted to a single artist, which opened in April 1904, shortly before his death, and received a major expansion between 2006 and 2011. Later in life, after achieving financial success, Watts began organizing exhibitions that were open to ordinary people. He genuinely believed that art should be accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy. He thought it was wrong to charge those who couldn't afford it, and he saw greed as one of the main problems of modern society. Some of his most powerful works reflect this idea, especially paintings like Hope and Mammon, which can be seen as a critique of materialism and greed. And it really makes you think, how many artists, then or now, have freely given their work to galleries just so people could experience art? Watts was definitely an exception. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment. It really helps the algorithm. And if you want to support the channel, you can use the sponsorship option below. And if you're interested in discovering contemporary art or unique handmade pieces, check out alebrio.co, an international marketplace where collectors connect directly with independent artists.